Tonight, imagine standing alone in the corner of a grand gaslit ballroom. The air is not fresh. It is a heavy, recycled soup of burning tallow, lavender water, and the perspiration of 300 people slowly suffocating in silk. Not during the height of the dance, when the music drowns out the anxiety, but in the terrible silence between sets, when the eyes of the room turn toward the edges. You are 17 years old. You are wearing a dress that cost your father more than his carriage horses. And you are holding a small, folding semicircle of painted paper and ivory. This object is the only thing standing between you and social oblivion. If you were truly alone here, without this shield, you probably wouldn't last long. The scrutiny would peel the skin right off your face. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Go ahead and comment your location and local time. Let's mark this quiet vigil across the globe. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum fitting, isn't it? And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You are standing on the periphery of the marriage mart, a term that historians use with a knowing chuckle, but which you, living inside it, experience as a literal auction block. You are the merchandise. The fan in your hand is not a fashion statement. It is a tool for survival. You grip the mother-of-pearl handle until your knuckles turn white, hiding the tension under a veneer of lace. You have been trained for this moment since you were old enough to walk instructed that your entire value as a human being boils down to securing a bid from a man with a decent income and fewer than 3 known mistresses. The room is a battlefield of etiquette. Every movement you make is being watched, catalogued, and appraised by the dragons, the mothers and chaperones lining the walls like a row of grim, satin-upholstered artillery. You feel their eyes on your posture, your complexion, and your waistline. You cannot speak to them. You cannot shout that you are tired, or that your shoes are pinching your toes into a bloody pulp. To speak is to risk saying the wrong thing. So, you let the fan speak for you. You have likely heard of the language of fans. It is often portrayed as a whimsical, romantic game, a secret code where a flutter means, I love you, and a twirl means kiss me. But standing here, sweating in your corset, you know the truth is far more utilitarian. The fan is a traffic signal for predators. It is a way to manage the flow of men without ever having to open your mouth and reveal that you have an opinion, which would immediately lower your market value. You hold the fan in your right hand in front of your face. This is the default position. It says, I am present, but I am reserved. It is a shield. You can hide a yawn behind it. You can hide a grimace. You can hide the fact that you are frantically scanning the room for a friendly face. The fan allows you to edit your personality in real time. If a man approaches a man with bad teeth and a worse reputation, you do not have to reject him verbally. You simply draw the fan across your cheek. It is a subtle motion, easily denied if he takes offense, but the message is clear. I am not for you. This language was popularized, and some historians argue, entirely invented by the Parisian fan maker de Villeroy, who printed little instructional booklets to drive sales. It was a marketing gimmick that became a social law. Whether every man in the room actually knows the code is irrelevant. You have to act as if they do. You have to perform the pantomime. It gives you something to do with your hands, which is a blessing, because otherwise you might wring them in despair, and a nervous girl is a bad investment. The physical sensation of the fan is grounding. The ribs are made of ivory or bone, cool to the touch. The leaf is made of silk or vellum, painted with pastoral scenes of shepherds and shepherdesses people, who, unlike you, seem to be having a relaxing time outdoors. You flick your wrist. The fan snaps open with a sharp thwack. It is a satisfying, aggressive sound. In a world where you are not allowed to slam doors, snapping a fan is the only violence you are permitted. You use it to create a private atmosphere. You fan yourself slowly. The movement circulates the air, yes, but it also spreads your pheromones, wafting the scent of your expensive perfume toward the gentleman standing 3 feet away. It is a biological lure disguised as a cooling mechanism. You are fishing. You are standing in a stagnant pond, twitching a lure, waiting for a bite. But the fan also hides your defects. If you have bad teeth, a common affliction in an era where sugar is popular and dentistry involves pliers, you learn to laugh behind the fan. If you have a pimple on your chin, the fan lives there for the evening. If you are blushing because a man just made an inappropriate comment about your bosom, the fan covers the evidence of your embarrassment. It is the Photoshop of the 19th century. You are curating your own image, frame by frame, hiding the messy biological reality of being a mammal. There is a bleak irony in the fact that your most important tool is so fragile. If you drop it, it breaks. If you open it too hard, the silk tears. It is a metaphor for your reputation, beautiful, expensive, and easily destroyed by a moment of clumsiness. You have seen girls ruin their prospects by dropping their fan at the wrong moment. It signals a lack of grace. A clumsy wife might drop the china, or worse, the air. You watch the other girls. They are doing the same thing. A sea of fluttering semicircles, like a flock of nervous moths. You can read their anxiety in the speed of the flutter. Fast fanning means excitement or agitation. Slow fanning means boredom or languor. A closed fan held tight against the chest means fear. You are all telegraphing your internal states to one another. A silent chorus of panic under the sound of the violins. The men, of course, are oblivious to the nuance. They see only the movement. They are attracted to the flash of color, the rhythmic motion. They are simple creatures in this regard. They do not know that when you rest the fan on your right cheek, you are saying yes, but when you rest it on your left, you are saying no. They just see a girl touching her face and think, she looks healthy enough to survive childbirth. You realize, standing there, that you are not really a person tonight. You are a bundle of potential. Potential wife, potential mother, potential hostess. The fan is the price tag. You manipulate it to show your best side, to hide the cracks, to invite inspection or deter it. You are running a small business, and the product is you. The music swells. A waltz begins. A man approaches you. He is tall, stiff, and looks at you as if he is checking a horse's teeth. You tighten your grip on the ivory handle. You have a split second to decide. Do you open the fan and invite him in, or do you snap it shut and turn away? The power is illusory. Of course, if you turn away too many men, you become a spinster, which is a fate worse than death. But for this 1 second, the choice is yours. You are the gatekeeper of your own destruction. You look at him. You look at the fan. You prepare to signal. You are fluent in this silent language, not because you wanted to learn it, but because in this room, silence is the only safe place to hide. You take a breath, hoping your corset doesn't creak, and you make your move. As the waltz turns and the room spins in a blur of gaslight and expensive fabric, you look down at the object in your hand. It feels weightless, a delicate assembly of sticks and silk that weighs less than a sparrow. But if you truly knew what you were holding, your hand would tremble under the sheer, crushing mass of the suffering compressed into those 12 inches of craftsmanship. The fan is a beautiful lie. It presents itself as a product of air and whimsy, but it is actually a product of the slaughterhouse and the chemical vat. Consider the ribs, the rigid skeleton of the fan that you are gripping so tightly. They are likely made of ivory or mother of pearl. To you, ivory is just a luxury material, smooth and cool to the touch, with a creamy luster that complements your skin. But to the supply chain that brought it here, ivory is a brutal business. It began with a gunshot or a spear in a distant colony, the hacking of a face, the rotting of a carcass in the sun. It was shipped to the workshops of Dieppe or London, where men bent over spinning wheels and saws in rooms thick with bone dust. You do not see the dust, but the men who made your fan breathed it in every day. The fine particulate matter of ground bone and shell settles in the lungs, creating a condition that mimics consumption. The man who carved the intricate floral fretwork on your fan handle likely coughs up a white paste in the mornings. He is trading his breath for your breeze. The mother of pearl is even worse. The dust from grinding shells is sharp, microscopic shards of calcium carbonate that shred the lung tissue like tiny knives. But the finish is exquisite, isn't it? It catches the light beautifully, hiding the fact that it is essentially polished death. And if your fan is made of chicken skin, a very popular, high-end material noted for its incredible softness and durability, you are holding something even darker. The term is a euphemism, a marketing trick to make the ladies feel better. It is not the skin of a chicken. It is usually the skin of a kid goat or a lamb, and for the finest, most translucent fans, the skin was taken from animals that were essentially stillborn or died shortly after birth. You are fanning your flushed cheeks with the tanned hide of a neonate. It is soft because it never had time to toughen in the harshness of the world. Then there is the color. Oh, the colors are magnificent. The deep crimsons, the vibrant yellows, and especially the greens. Fashion has gone mad for green this season. It is the color of nature, of spring, of hope. But the dye that achieves that particular emerald brilliance is Scheele's green, or Paris green. It is a copper arsenic compound. You are holding a fan painted with poison. Every time you flick your wrist to open the fan, you are releasing a microscopic cloud of arsenic dust into the air right in front of your nose. You inhale it. It settles on your lips. It enters your bloodstream. The fatigue you feel, the headaches, the slight pallor that you cover with rouge, you assume it is just the strain of the season. It is actually a slow-grade intoxication. You are literally poisoning yourself to look attractive to men who are also slowly being poisoned by the wallpaper in their clubs. It is a mutual suicide pact disguised as high society. But the real victims are not the ladies in the ballroom. They are the girls in the coloring workshops. To get the fine details on the leaves and the pastoral scenes, the painters use camel hair brushes. To point the brush, to get that razor-sharp tip needed for the tiny shepherd's eyes, the girls put the brushes in their mouths. They lick the arsenic. They lick the lead white. They lick the mercury-based cinnabar. They die young, their bodies so laden with heavy metals that they likely wouldn't decompose properly in the grave. Fashion has always demanded victims. Usually, it just prefers them to be poor. You look at the painting on the leaf. It is a scene of fate's gallant lovers picnicking in a park, free of care. The irony is sharp enough to cut. The person who painted that scene likely did so in a garret in London or Paris, working by the light of a single tallow candle to save money. The work is so fine, so microscopic, that it ruins the eyes. By the time the artisan is 40, they will likely be stone blind, their corneas burned out by the strain of focusing on your luxury. You are holding a stranger's eyesight in your hand. You are cooling yourself with their blindness. Even the glue has a history. The silk is bonded to the sticks with glues made from boiled hooves and rabbit skins. The smell of the glue factory is the smell of a rendering plant, a stench so powerful it can peel the paint off a house. But here, masked by your lavender water and the sachets in your wardrobe, the fan smells only of money. It has been sanitized. The blood, the bone dust, the arsenic, and the blindness have all been scrubbed away, leaving only a perfect shiny object that helps you flirt with a viscount. There is a grim utility to the materials, too. If the ribs are not ivory, they might be baleen whalebone. This is the same material crushing your ribs in your corset. You are sandwiched between the whale. It constricts your torso and cools your face. At least the whale got to swim the ocean before it ended up in your armpit. The baleen was harvested by men who spent years at sea, risking scurvy and drowning, to bring back the flexible plates from a whale's mouth so you could have a fan that snaps shut with just the right amount of elasticity. You run your thumb over the edge of the silk. It is fraying slightly. You feel a sudden revulsion. You want to drop the thing. It feels heavy now, burdened with the ghosts of the supply chain. You realize that you are the final link in a long chain of exploitation. The hunter, the renderer, the carver, the dyer, the painter, they all suffered so you could stand here and signal, "I am available," with a flick of your wrist. But you do not drop it. You cannot. The room is watching. The heat is rising. The arsenic dust is floating in the stagnant air. You need the fan. It is your weapon, your shield, your life support. So you tighten your grip on the carved bone handle, ignoring the phantom cough of the carver, and you raise the instrument of death to your face. You smile. You flutter the poisoned silk. And you pray that the beauty of the object is enough to distract the world from the horror of its creation and the desperation of the girl holding it. The music swells a Strauss waltz, energetic and demanding, and the room begins to spin. But the dizziness you feel isn't from the romance of the moment. It is a simple equation of volume and pressure. You are currently encased in a structural cage of couture fabric and whalebone stays that has reduced your waist to a fashionable 20 inches, but at the cost of your vital capacity. You are not holding the fan to be coy. You are holding it because it is the only manual air pump you possess, and if you stop moving it, you might actually hit the floor. You are effectively operating a life support system with your right wrist. The corset was laced hours ago by a maid with strong arms and zero empathy. At the time, standing in your dressing room, it felt manageable. A tight hug. But now, after 3 hours of standing, dancing, and enduring the heat of 300 bodies, the hug has turned into a vice. Your lower ribs are compressed. Your diaphragm, the muscle responsible for drawing breath deep into your lungs, is pinned against your spine. It cannot descend. This means you cannot take a deep breath. You are forced into costal breathing, shallow, rapid sips of air, using only the very top of your chest. This is the origin of the heaving bosom, so beloved by romantic poets. It isn't passion. It isn't excitement. It is hypoxia. You are heaving because you are slowly asphyxiating in a silk casing. The fan becomes your external lung. You wave it rhythmically, a metronome of survival. The motion is not random. You are trying to break the boundary layer of stagnant, hot air that clings to your face. In a crowded ballroom, the carbon dioxide levels rise significantly. You are literally breathing in the exhaust fumes of your neighbors. The fan slices through this cloud, bringing slightly cooler, slightly oxygenated air to your nose. It is a desperate act of ventilation disguised as elegance. The heat is the enemy. The gas chandeliers overhead are roaring like furnaces, consuming the oxygen you desperately need and replacing it with heat and fumes. The temperature in the room is pushing 85 degrees. You are wearing layers of petticoats, a chemise, a corset cover, and a heavy silk gown. You are essentially a baked potato wrapped in foil, placed in an oven, and told to look chilly. If you stop fanning, the vapors set in. The edges of your vision start to blur. A high-pitched whine enters your ears. This is the prelude to a faint. In the novels, fainting is a graceful decline into the arms of a waiting duke. In reality, it is a sudden humiliating collapse where you hit your head on the parquet floor, your legs fly up, exposing your ankles a scandal, and you wake up to someone shoving smelling salts ammonia up your nose, which feels like being punched in the brain. You fan harder. Swish, swish, swish. You must keep the blood moving. The tight lacing also restricts venous return. The blood pools in your legs. The fan's motion helps, in a tiny way, to keep your heart rate up, to keep the system pressurized. You are fighting a war against gravity and haberdashery. You look at the men. They are red-faced, certainly, in their wool coats and high collars, but they are breathing. Their waists are unrestricted. They can laugh. They can shout. You can only produce short, breathless titters. You envy their diaphragms with a jealousy that burns hotter than the room. They have no idea that you are performing a high-wire act of physiology right in front of them. "Are you enjoying the evening, miss?" a gentleman asks. Immensely, you wheeze, hiding the gasp behind the painted silk. You cannot waste oxygen on long sentences. You have become a minimalist of speech, hoarding air like a miser hoards gold. There is a specific danger in the vapors. It is not just the fainting, it is the vulnerability. If you swoon, you are removed from the room. You are taken to a withdrawing room unlaced and exposed. It is a loss of control. A woman who faints is a woman who cannot handle the rigors of the season. She is delicate in the bad way, the expensive way. A man looks at a fainting girl and sees a wife who will spend her life on a sofa, racking up doctor's bills rather than managing his household. So you use the fan to mask the struggle. You learn to time your flutters with your breaths. Inhale fan, exhale fan. It becomes a trance. You are not thinking about the music. You are thinking about the mechanics of not dying. Historians still argue whether the extreme tight-lacing depicted in fashion plates was the norm or the exception, a fetishized exaggeration. But as the steel busk of your corset digs into your solar plexus, the academic debate feels irrelevant. The pain is real. The displacement of your internal organs, the liver pushed up, the intestines pushed down, is a silent, visceral horror. You are rearranging your anatomy to fit a silhouette. Sometimes you use the fan to create a microclimate of privacy for a quick recovery. You snap it open fully, holding it close to your face, ostensibly to examine the painting of the shepherdess. In reality, you are using the cover to open your mouth wide, unladylike, cavernous, and gulp down a massive mouthful of air like a fish out of water. You catch your breath in the shadow of the fan, then lower it, smiling as if you haven't just fought for your life. The fan also serves as a tactile distraction from the itch. This is the secret misery of the ballroom. You are sweating under the layers. The linen chemise is damp. The whalebone rubs. You cannot scratch. A lady does not scratch. To scratch is to admit you have skin, and skin is animal. So you channel the urge into the fan. You grip it. You tap it against your palm. You transfer the physical agitation into the object. It absorbs your fidgeting, your discomfort, your desire to tear the dress off and run screaming into the snow. You watch an older woman across the room. She is heavy, her bosom massive and supported by what must be industrial-grade engineering. She is fanning herself with a large ostrich feather fan. It moves slowly, majestically. She has survived the wars. She has learned the pacing. She knows that if she fans too fast, she generates more body heat than the air cools. It is a thermodynamic trap. You must fan efficiently, not frantically. You adjust your rhythm. You copy her. You are learning the physics of the cage. The set ends. The music stops. The relief is instant, but partial. The crowd thins slightly as people move to the edges. You lean against a pillar, not for a pose, but to take the weight off your spine. You lower the fan to your chest, letting it rest against the frantic beating of your heart. You can feel the pulse through the ivory handle. Thump, thump, thump. You realize that the fan is more than an accessory. It is a prosthetic. It is the only part of you that is moving freely. It is doing the work your lungs cannot. You look at it with a strange mix of gratitude and resentment. It is saving you, yes, but it is also enabling the torture. Without the fan, the corset would be impossible. With the fan, it is merely unbearable. You take a sip of shallow air, raise the silk shield once more, and prepare for the next round of suffocation, knowing that beauty is pain, but oxygen is optional. You have managed to stabilize your breathing, forcing the shallow sips of air past the whalebone. But now you must attend to a danger far more acute than hypoxia. You feel a prickle on the back of your neck, a sensation of being observed that has nothing to do with the male gaze. You slowly turn your head, masking the movement with a languid wave of your fan, and look toward the perimeter of the ballroom. There, seated on gilt chairs like a row of dark velvet upholstered vultures, are the chaperones. They are the dragons of the season mothers, aunts, spinster cousins, and hired guardians. They are not dancing. They are working. Their job is ostensibly to protect your virtue, but you know the truth. They are quality control managers in a high-stakes livestock trade. And right now, your own mother's eyes are fixed on you with the unblinking intensity of a sniper. She is watching your countenance. In this market, your face is not your own. It is a billboard advertising the integrity of the product. The ideal expression is one of demure receptivity, pleasant, mild, and utterly devoid of strong emotion. To show anger is to be a shrew. To show boredom is to be ungrateful. But to show passion or worse, embarrassment, is to signal a defect in the merchandise. And then it happens. The man you are dancing with, a lieutenant with a mustache that smells of wax and ambition, leans in close. He whispers something. It might be a compliment about your shoulders. It might be a double entendre involving the word pleasure. In a modern context, you might roll your eyes or slap him. Here, your body betrays you. You feel the heat rise. It starts in your chest, a hot, creeping flush that climbs up your neck and explodes across your cheeks. You are blushing. This is a disaster. To the chaperones watching from the sidelines, a blush is data. It tells them that you understood the innuendo. It suggests that your mind is not the pristine white sheet of paper they promised the buyer, but a page already scribbled with knowledge. A girl who knows enough to blush at a dirty joke is a girl who knows too much. Or, conversely, if the lieutenant merely complimented you and you blushed, it signals that you are emotionally volatile, easily conquered, fast. You have seconds before the redness becomes visible to the dragons. You cannot run. You cannot cover your face with your hands like a child. So you deploy the fan. You snap it open. You do not hold it in the resting position. You bring it up high, engaging the sunshade maneuver, even though it is midnight. You angle the leaf of the fan so that it creates a physical wall between your face and your mother's line of sight. You are literally constructing a partition. To the lieutenant, it looks like you are being coy, perhaps engaging in a bit of mysterious flirtation. You might even peek over the rim at him. But the primary function of the fan right now is not to flirt. It is to hide the biological evidence of your humanity from the woman who controls your allowance. You hold the position. Behind the silk screen, your face is burning. You breathe against the fabric, willing the capillaries to constrict, willing the blood to go back down. You are hiding in a tent of your own making. The chaperone knows what you are doing, of course. She sees the fan go up. She knows you are hiding something, but she cannot see the blush. And in this society, if a sin is not seen, it did not happen. You are giving her plausible deniability. She can tell herself, and more importantly, tell the other mothers that you were simply cooling your forehead or shielding your eyes from the glare of the chandelier. You are conspiring with her to maintain the lie of your perfection. The vigilance of the chaperone is terrifying because it is omnidirectional. They are not just watching you. They are watching the men watching you. They are calculating the optics of every interaction. If you talk to the lieutenant for 5 minutes, it is a polite acquaintance. If you talk to him for 10, it is an interest. If you talk to him for 15, or God forbid, dance 2 sets in a row with him, you are engaged. You use the fan to break these connections before they harden into scandal. If a man lingers too long, and you see your mother stiffen on her throne, you know the signal. You must dismiss him. But you cannot say, "Go away, my mother thinks you are too poor." That would be gauche. Instead, you use the cut. You let the fan drop shut. You tap it sharply against the palm of your left hand. You look away. It is a gesture of closure. It puts a period at the end of the sentence. The man, if he has any breeding, understands that the audience is over. If he doesn't, the fan remains closed, a bar across your chest, refusing to reopen until he leaves. There is a financial brutality to this surveillance. The chaperones are constantly running the numbers. They know exactly how much your dress cost. They know how much the lieutenant makes, 300 pounds a year, barely enough to keep a horse, let alone a wife. They are watching you waste your depreciation on a bad investment. You can feel their disappointment vibrating across the room. It adds a layer of psychic weight to the fan. You are not just carrying silk and bone. You are carrying the expectations of a dynasty. Every time you falter, every time you let your guard down and laugh too loudly, you can feel the market value dropping. You spy a rival debutante across the floor. She is not using her fan. She is laughing openly, her face flushed, her eyes bright. She looks happy. You look at her chaperone. The older woman is not smiling. She is making a mental note. She is whispering to the woman next to her. You know what they are saying. A pity, no discipline. She'll be lucky to marry a curate. The happy girl is destroying her future with every genuine smile. You tighten your grip on your own fan. You will not make that mistake. You are a professional. The blush finally subsides. The heat leaves your cheeks. You lower the fan slowly, revealing your face once more. It is pale, composed, a mask of porcelain cool. You catch your mother's eye. She gives a nearly imperceptible nod. You have passed the test. You managed the crisis. You contained the leak, but the effort leaves you drained. You realize that the chaperone does not really care about you, the person. She cares about the asset. She is the museum guard, and you are the vase. Her job is to make sure nobody chips you before the auction closes. The lieutenant bows and takes his leave, confused by your sudden coldness, unaware that he was just blocked by a defensive fortification. You are alone again in the crowd. You fan yourself gently, swish, swish, resetting the mechanism. You have survived the blush. But the night is long, the room is full of triggers, and the dragon on the wall never blinks. You wonder, with a sudden, dark pang, if she ever had a fan of her own, or if she was born with a face of stone, immune to the blood that betrays the heart. You have learned to defend yourself, to hide the blush and the breathlessness, but defense is only half the battle. In the brutal economy of the ballroom, you must also know how to attack. You are surrounded by men who are, for the most part, disappointments in tailored wool. Some are fortune hunters, wolves sniffing for a dowry to pay off their gambling debts. Some are bores who will talk about crop rotation until your eyes glaze over. And some are simply detrimentals, men of no consequence, whose mere presence at your side lowers your stock value. You cannot tell them to go away. That would be unladylike. Instead, you must master the grammar of cruelty. You discover that the fan, when closed, ceases to be a lung or a screen. It transforms into a rod. It becomes a baton of command, a rigid stick of ivory and wood that feels surprisingly heavy in the hand. If the open fan is a feminine invitation, the closed fan is a masculine rejection. It is the period at the end of a sentence. You didn't even let them start. Imagine you are cornered by a Mr. Collins type of clergyman, or a minor squire with wet hands, and a monologue about his aunt's gout. He is inching closer. He is misinterpreting your silence as fascination. He opens his mouth to ask for the next dance, a request that, if granted, would trap you for 20 minutes of purgatory. You do not speak. You simply let the fan drop shut. Clack. The sound is sharp, percussive. It cuts through the ambient noise of the room like a pistol shot. It is a social stop signal. You hold the closed fan in your right hand, but you do not hold it loosely. You grip it like a weapon handle. You tap it rhythmically against the palm of your left hand. Tap, tap. This is not a nervous fidget. It is a countdown. It signifies impatience. It says, I am enduring you, but the timer is running out. It is the same gesture a schoolmaster uses with a cane before delivering a thrashing. The man, on some primal level, recognizes the threat. He stammers. He loses his train of thought. You have disrupted his rhythm without uttering a syllable. But the grammar goes deeper. If he persists, you escalate. You engage the specific lexicon of disdain. According to the manuals, though historians still argue whether these codes were strictly adhered to or merely generally understood vibes, drawing the closed fan through the hand implies "I hate you." You do it slowly. You slide the ivory ribs through your left palm, staring at him with dead eyes. It is a visceral, dismissive motion, like wiping dirt off a blade. It suggests that his presence is a stain you are trying to remove. It is an insult so precise, so quiet, that he cannot possibly challenge you on it. If he says, "Did you just say you hate me?" you can simply widen your eyes and say, "I was merely smoothing the silk, sir." You are gaslighting him with accessories. There is a dark thrill in this. For a woman who has no legal rights, no vote, and no property, the ability to crush a man's ego with a piece of painted paper is intoxicating. You are the judge, jury, and executioner of the conversation. Then there is the left hand of rejection. If you carry the open fan in your left hand, it generally signals a lack of engagement. But if you twirl the fan in your left hand, spinning it lazily while looking over his shoulder, it means we are being watched. It is a soft rejection, a lie that suggests I might like you, but my mother is looking, so go away. It saves his face, but it clears your dance card. However, for the truly persistent pest, the man who tries to touch your arm or leans in too close to, smell your hair, you reserve the cut. This is the nuclear option. You do not fan. You do not tap. You simply hold the fan in front of your face, closed, like a bar. You look at him, and you look through him, and then you turn your head away, keeping the fan raised. You have effectively erected a toll gate and refused to lift the arm. You have rendered him invisible. It is a public execution. To be cut by a lady of quality is to be socially eviscerated. The other men see it. They snicker. The chaperones see it. They nod in approval. You have demonstrated discrimination, a highly valued trait. You have proven that you are not a girl who accepts just anyone. You have standards. You have a velvet rope, and this man is not on the list. The physical mechanics of the closed fan allow for other, subtler cruelties. You can use it to point not at people, which is rude, but at exits. You can use it to stifle a yawn, but do it so poorly that the yawn is obviously visible. This is the performative boredom maneuver. You open the fan just a fraction a lazy, half-hearted spread of silk and flutter it with zero energy. You are telling him that he is sucking the oxygen out of the room faster than the gaslights. There is a bleak humor in how much effort you put into looking effortless. You are exhausted. Your feet are bleeding inside your satin slippers. But you must channel all that pain into the projection of superiority. You are an actress playing the role of a queen, and queens do not tolerate fools. Sometimes the insult is collective. You and another girl, perhaps a rival, perhaps a temporary ally, stand together. You both close your fans simultaneously as a man approaches. It is a shield wall. You lock eyes with each other, ignoring him completely. You giggle behind the fans. The exclusionary giggle is a sound frequency designed to shatter the male ego. He stops. He adjusts his cravat. He retreats. You have won the territory without firing a shot. But there is a cost to this cruelty. You are hardening yourself. You are learning to look at a human being flawed, hopeful, perhaps just nervous, and treat them like a fly to be swatted. You are becoming the thing you fear, a dragon in training. You catch a glimpse of yourself in a mirror. Your posture is rigid. Your jaw is set. The fan in your hand looks less like a toy and more like a shiv. You realize that the language of fans is not a romance language. It is a code of conduct for a prisoner of war camp. You are the prisoner, but you are also the guard. You punish the men to prove you are worthy of the cage. The boar finally leaves, defeated by your relentless rhythmic tapping. He wanders off to torment a debutante with a less aggressive fan technique. You feel a moment of relief, followed by a wave of hollowness. You have successfully driven someone away. Congratulations. Now you are alone again, standing in the drafty corner, clutching your stick of ivory, waiting for the next assault, sharpening your silence like a knife. The music changes tempo, shifting from a waltz to a quadrille, but the real rhythm of the room is set by the invisible clicking of abacusses. You have defended yourself against the bores and the gropers, but now you face the true purpose of the evening. You are not just a girl at a dance. You are a speculative asset in a volatile market. The ballroom is a stock exchange, and the fan in your hand is the ticker tape that broadcasts your current value to the room. You are acutely aware of the number floating above your head. It is your dowry. It is the sum of money, cash, consols, or land that your father is willing to pay a man to take you off his hands. In the cold calculus of the 19th century, you are a negative asset. You consume food. You require clothing. You do not produce income. To a father, a daughter is a bill that never stops arriving until she is married. The dowry is the exit fee. Your job, standing here with your fan, is to protect that number. You must project high value. This is a delicate performance. If you fan yourself too vigorously, with short, choppy strokes, you signal anxiety. Anxiety smells like desperation. A desperate girl is a girl whose father might be willing to negotiate a lower settlement just to get her settled. You look like a distressed property. The sharks, the fortune hunters with title, but no cash, will circle, smelling blood. They know a desperate father will pay a premium to secure a coronet for his frantic daughter. So you force your hand to move slowly, languid, liquid, luxurious. A slow, wide sweep of the fan suggests that you are comfortable. It implies that you do not need to be here. It suggests that your father is wealthy enough to keep you for another season if he chooses. It drives the price up. It makes the men think, she is a prize, not a bargain. You are bluffing with body language, trying to convince a room full of accountants that you are a blue-chip stock. But there is a trap. If you fan yourself too slowly, too arrogantly, you signal that you are out of reach. You look like the daughter of a duke who will only marry a prince. The eligible bachelors, the solid, boring men with £2,000 a year and a country estate, will be intimidated. They will not bid. You will end the season unsold, which is a financial catastrophe. You have to find the Goldilocks zone of fanning, available but expensive. You look at the fan itself. It is a prop in this financial theater. Your father bought it for you, likely complaining about the cost. It is an investment. A cheap fan one with wooden sticks instead of ivory, or paper instead of silk signals that the family fortune is stretched thin. It tells the suitors, we are cutting corners. It attracts the wrong kind of men, the ones looking for a housekeeper rather than a hostess. But an overly expensive fan one, encrusted with jewels or painted by a famous master signals that you are high maintenance. A thrifty squire looks at a diamond-studded fan and sees a wife who will bankrupt him on millinery bills within a year. He walks away. You have priced yourself out of the market with your own accessories. You catch the eye of a potential suitor. He is watching you. You know what he is doing. He is mentally calculating the return on investment. He is looking at your hips for heirs, your teeth for health, and your fan for style and steady nerves. He is wondering if the £10,000 settlement is worth the upkeep. You feel a sudden spike of fear. What if you make a mistake? The fatal drop is the nightmare scenario. If you drop your fan, the rules of etiquette dictate that the gentleman must pick it up. It seems romantic, but in the financial subtext, it is a risk. If you drop it in front of a wealthy man, it looks like a clumsy trap, a desperate ply for attention. It looks common. If you drop it and it breaks, if an ivory rib snaps on the floor, it is a disaster. You have just destroyed a valuable asset. It suggests you are careless with property. A man thinks, if she breaks a fan, she'll break my china. She is a liability. You grip the handle tighter. You are holding your future in your sweaty palm. Then there is the competition. You look across the room at the other girls. They are all tickers, too. There is the banker's daughter, fanning herself with a frenetic energy that screams, new money. There is the baronet's daughter, using a ragged old fan that screams, old money, but no cash. You are positioning yourself against them. You are trying to be the safe bet. You realize the profound dehumanization of the process. You are not a partner in this transaction. You are the currency. The negotiations happen in the card room, between your father and the suitor, over brandy and cigars. They discuss settlements and jointures and pin money. They discuss you as if you were a parcel of land or a prize heifer. Your role in the ballroom is merely the marketing campaign. You are the glossy brochure. The fan allows you to signal compliance with this system. When a man approaches, you lower the fan slightly. This is the depreciation bow. You are acknowledging his status. You are showing him that you are willing to be acquired. You are signaling that you will not be a difficult wife. You will not argue about the budget. You will be a decorative asset, appreciating in value as you produce heirs. But inside, you are doing your own math. You are looking at his coat. Is it well cut? Is the fabric new? You are looking at his hands. Are they clean? You are terrified of being sold to a bad investor, a gambler who will spend your dowry at the tables and leave you destitute in a drafty house in Yorkshire. You see a man you actually like, a younger son perhaps, with kind eyes, but no inheritance. He smiles at you. Your heart jumps. You want to fan him quickly, to invite him over, but you check yourself. Your fan freezes. You cannot afford him. If you marry him, you marry poverty. You marry a life of economizing, of turning collars and patching dresses. Your mother has warned you. Love does not pay the butcher, she says. So you perform the cruelest calculation of all. You use the fan to signal no to the man you want, maybe to the man you can afford. You turn your shoulder to the poor boy. You slowly, deliberately, turn your fan toward the wealthy boor. It is a financial decision made with a physical gesture. You have just liquidated your own happiness to secure your solvency. The boor approaches. He looks pleased. He thinks he has won you with his charm. He doesn't know he was just selected by an algorithm of survival. You smile at him over the rim of the silk, your eyes dead, your hand steady, playing the part of the good investment, while the ticker tape in your mind runs red with the losses you will never be able to recoup. The music fades, leaving a ringing silence that is quickly filled by the murmur of gossip and the rustle of stiff fabrics. You are standing near an alcove, exhausted, your mind foggy from the heat and the arsenic. A gentleman, the wealthy boor you selected with your financial algorithm, is standing in front of you. He is waiting for an answer. Perhaps he has just asked if he might call on your father tomorrow. Or perhaps, in the muffled acoustics of the ballroom, he asked something far more significant. You aren't entirely sure. But he is staring at you with the expectant gaze of a dog waiting for a treat, and you are holding the treat. The fan is in your right hand. You bring it up to your face, a reflex born of nerves and the desperate need to cool your burning skin. You rest the closed fan against your cheek. Instant panic. Which cheek? In the terrifyingly specific syntax of the fan language, the difference between the right cheek and the left cheek is the difference between a wedding and a duel. To rest the fan on the right cheek means yes. It is an affirmative signal, a green light, an invitation to proceed. To rest it on the left cheek means no. It is a rejection, a stop sign. You freeze. The ivory sticks are pressing against your skin. You frantically map your own face in your mind. Right is yes, left is no. But which side is which? In the mirror, everything is reversed. Your brain, tired and oxygen deprived, stutters. You are suddenly unsure of your own anatomy. You feel a surge of vertigo. You are holding a loaded gun against your own future, and you don't know which side the safety is on. You realize you are pressing it against your right cheek. You have just said, yes. The man's face lights up. He interprets this accidental contact as a binding contract. He bows deeply. You make me the happiest of men, he murmurs. Horror washes over you cold and fast. You didn't mean yes. You meant I am thinking, or perhaps just my face is hot. But the language allows for no nuance. It is a binary code. You have accidentally agreed to a courtship with a man whose voice sounds like a damp cello. You try to correct the error. You move the fan, but motion creates new words. If you slide the fan across your forehead, it means we are watched. If you twirl it in your left hand, it means we are watched. If you drop it, it means we will be friends. You are terrified to move your hand, lest you accidentally trigger cascade of unintended messages. You feel like a telegraph operator having a seizure. God only knows what gibberish you are sending out. The fatal error of syntax is the nightmare of every debutante. The fan manuals sold by de Villeroy are precise, but reality is messy. A fan held half open means one thing. A fan held wide open means another. What if your fan is stuck? What if the silk is stiff, and it only opens 3/4 of the way? Does that mean, I love you, or I tolerate you? You are trying to communicate complex emotional states with a tool that has the expressive range of a semaphore flag. And the men, most of them have never actually read the manuals. They are operating on hearsay and half-remembered tips from their sisters. They are terrible linguists. You might be signaling a polite, wait for me, and he interprets it as, kiss me now. Or you signal, you are cruel, and he thinks you are swatting a fly. You are playing a high-stakes game of charades where the penalty for losing is a loveless marriage in a drafty manor house. The bore is now beaming at you. He looks ready to shout the news to the room. You have to walk this back. But you cannot speak. To speak would be to admit that the fan signal was a mistake, which implies you are clumsy, or worse, a tease. A tease is a woman who signals yes and then says no. That reputation is fatal. It marks you as unreliable currency. So you have to use the fan to edit the previous statement. You have to backspace. You slowly lower the fan from your right cheek. You look at him with a sudden, feigned intensity, the counterfeit surprise. You snap the fan open with your left hand. Thwack. You hold it in front of your face, covering everything but your eyes. This is the signal for, I am terrified, or hide me. The bore pauses. He is confused. The syntax has shifted. She said yes, but now she is hiding. He interprets this as modesty. He thinks you are overwhelmed by the sudden intimacy of the engagement. He finds it charming. Do not fear, my dear, he says, stepping closer. I will be gentle with your heart. It isn't working. You have dug the hole deeper. Your attempt to signal stop was read as I am a shy flower. You are trapped in a comedy of errors that isn't funny because the punchline is your life. There are other syntactical traps. Consider the twirl. Twirling the fan in the left hand means we are watched. Twirling it in the right hand means I love another. The motions are identical, distinguished only by the hand used. But what if you are ambidextrous? What if you just switched hands to scratch your nose? You could accidentally confess to a secret affair you aren't having, triggering a scandal that ruins you before breakfast. And what about the draw? Drawing the fan through the hand means I hate you. But drawing the fan across the cheek means I love you. The difference is inches. A slip of the hand, a bump from a passing dancer, and you have turned a declaration of war into a declaration of love. You are literally inches away from disaster at all times. You look at the fan in your hand. It is a treacherous little object. It is a stick of dynamite painted with flowers. You wish you could just throw it away. But to throw the fan is to signal. Well, you don't even know what that signals. Probably insanity. And they lock insane women in attics, which, to be fair, might be preferable to marrying the bore. You decide to try the reset. You close the fan completely. You let your hands drop to your sides. You stand perfectly still, staring at a spot on the wall over his left shoulder. This is the null state. It is an attempt to clear the buffer. The bore stares at you. He sees the sudden stillness. He frowns. The connection is broken. He senses the change in temperature. Are you unwell? He asks. The heat, you whisper. It is the universal excuse. It covers everything from pregnancy to hatred. Shall I fetch you some punch? Please. He bows and leaves. You have bought yourself 3 minutes. You exhale, your corset creaking like the hull of a sinking ship. You nearly sold yourself by touching the wrong cheek. You realize that you are not fluent in this language. Nobody is. You are all just guessing, frantically waving painted sticks at each other, hoping that the misinterpretations cancel each other out. You look around the room. You see other girls making similar mistakes. You see a girl resting her fan on her lips, kiss me, when she clearly just wants to chew on the ivory because she's hungry. You see a girl hitting her left palm, write to me, when she is actually just bored and keeping time to the music. The air is thick with gibberish. It is a cacophony of silent shouting. You realize that the secret language of fans is a myth that functions as a trap. It keeps you silent. It keeps you occupied. It keeps you terrified of your own hands. If you could just speak, if you could just say, "No, thank you, I find you tedious," the fan would be unnecessary. But society prefers a woman who signals in code, because a code can be ignored or reinterpreted by the powerful. A spoken no is a problem. A fan on the left cheek is just a suggestion. You wipe your sweaty palms on your dress, hidden at folds. You prepare for the bore's return. You check your fan. You mentally rehearse the syntax. Right is yes. Left is no. Open is come. Close is go. You repeat it like a catechism. You will not make the mistake again. You will be precise. You will be a machine of signaling. You will survive the syntax, even if it means you have to stand there like a statue, afraid to touch your own face for the rest of your natural life. The bore has retreated to the refreshment table, leaving you with a momentary reprieve from the social syntax, but his departure reveals a far more visceral enemy. With your concentration no longer fixed on the semaphore of the fan, your senses reset. You take a breath, expecting the scent of freedom. Instead, you inhale the true atmosphere of the 19th century ballroom. It is a smell that has no modern equivalent. It is a thick, invisible chowder of biological reality that would knock a 21st century clubgoer unconscious. You realize, with a sudden nausea-inducing clarity, that the gilded cage you are standing in smells largely of burning fat and unwashed wool. The primary culprit hangs above your head. The chandeliers are masterpieces of crystal. Yes, but they are powered by tallow or beeswax, or perhaps the new hissing gas jets. If it is tallow, you are essentially standing under 1,000 burning mutton chops. The air is thick with the scent of rendering grease. It coats the back of your throat. It settles in your hair. By the end of the night, you will smell like a candle factory that caught fire. But the candles are the least of your worries. The room is filled with 300 human beings in a state of high exertion, and personal hygiene is variable. You must remember that the daily bath is a Victorian invention that has not yet trickled down or up to everyone. Many of the people in this room believe that submerging the entire body in water strips the skin of its vital oils and invites disease. They spot clean. They wash the visible parts, the face, the hands, the neck. The rest is left to marinate in linen. You lift your fan to your nose. It is not just a signaling device. It is a gas mask. The fan is likely made of sandalwood Or perhaps the silk has been impregnated with a heavy perfume like patchouli, musk, or civet. You bury your nose in the leaf. You breathe through the fabric. You are filtering the air, trying to scrub the miasma before it hits your lungs. The belief in miasma-bad air causing sickness is fading, but the instinct remains. You know that the air in this room is bad. It feels heavy, humid, and used. You wave the fan frantically in front of your face. You are trying to create a turbulence that disperses the personal clouds of the people around you. Consider the men. They are wearing heavy wool tailcoats, waistcoats, and trousers. Wool is a fabric that holds on to odors with the tenacity of a grudge. These coats are rarely washed. They are brushed. A man might wear the same coat to the club, to the stables, and to the ball. When he heats up on the dance floor, the wool releases a complex bouquet of stale tobacco, horse sweat, damp dog, and old claret. You dance with the Duke, and he smells like a wet sheep dipped in brandy. And then there is the breath. Dental hygiene is a battlefield. Toothbrushes exist, but toothpaste is often a gritty powder made of chalk or charcoal. Rotting teeth are common. Gum disease is rampant. When a gentleman leans in to whisper a compliment, he is exhaling the decay of his own molars directly into your face. You use the fan to deflect this. You hold it at an angle, creating an aerodynamic slipstream that carries his halitosis over your shoulder rather than into your nose. It is a subtle defensive maneuver. He thinks you are being coy. You are actually diverting a biological hazard. The women are no better, though they are better disguised. Under the silk and the crinoline, there are layers of petticoats trapping body heat. It is a greenhouse for bacteria, and there is a specific metallic scent that cuts through the lavender water, the scent of the menstrual cycle. In an era before reliable sanitary products, women wear clouts or rags pinned into their undergarments. It is an imperfect system. The fear of leakage is constant. The smell of blood and iron is a quiet underlying note in every ballroom, masked only by the heavy application of animal-based perfumes. Civet derived from the anal glands of the civet cat is popular precisely because its fecal, musky undertone blends with and masks the natural odors of the body rather than fighting them. You are effectively hiding the smell of a human zoo with the smell of a wild one. Historians still argue about just how smelly the past really was, whether people were nose-blind to it or just endured it. But as the heat in the room rises to 80 degrees, the distinction feels academic. You are not nose-blind. You are gagging. The heat intensifies everything. The windows are often kept closed to prevent drafts, which cause colds, and to keep the expensive beeswax candles from guttering. The room is a sealed box. The carbon dioxide builds up. The oxygen depletes. The smells concentrate. You find yourself using the fan to create a scent bubble. You dip a corner of your handkerchief in a vial of vinaigrette sponges soaked in vinegar and aromatic oils hidden in your reticule. You press the handkerchief to the fan. Now, when you wave it, you are broadcasting a shield of acetic acid. It stings your nose, but it cuts through the grease. You watch the other debutantes. They are all doing the same thing. The room is a sea of women frantically paddling the air, trying to keep the stench of reality at bay. It is a collective delusion. You all pretend the air smells of roses, while knowing deep down it smells of the latrine. And speaking of latrines, the plumbing in a grand house is primitive. There are water closets, perhaps, but they are often new and temperamental. More likely, there are commodes or chamber pots screened off in small rooms or behind curtains in the dressing areas. As the night wears on and the champagne flows, these vessels fill up. The smell does not always stay contained. A draft from a newly opened door can carry a sudden earthy reminder of what is happening down the hall. You wave the fan harder. Swish, swish, swish. You are terrified that you might be the source of a smell. You checked your dress before you left. You washed with rose water. But the sweat is trickling down your back, soaking into the coattail of your corset. You cannot check. You cannot sniff your own armpit in polite society. You have to trust the layers. You have to trust the fan. The boar returns with the punch. He is red-faced, sweating profusely. He hands you the glass. His glove is damp. You can smell him a sharp, oniony tang of exertion. He stands too close. He is invading your scent bubble. The air is stifling, is it not? He asks, oblivious to the fact that he is the pollutant. Oppressive, you agree, holding the fan like a shield between your nose and his chest. You take a sip of the punch. It is lukewarm. It tastes of sugary lemon and the metallic tongue of the cup. You realize that the romance of the era is entirely dependent on distance. From across the room, the ball is a vision of sparkling light and swirling color. Up close, it is a sensory assault. The velvet is scratchy. The lights are blinding. The air is toxic. The people are rotting. The fan is the only thing that maintains the illusion. It allows you to filter the world, to keep the ugliness at arm's length. You look at the beautiful painting on the leaf, the shepherds in their pristine, airy meadow. They don't sweat. They don't have bad teeth. They don't smell like wet wool. You envy them. You wish you could climb into the picture and live in the two-dimensional scent-free world of the fan instead of this hot, stinking reality where you are expected to fall in love with a man whose breath could peel the wallpaper. You lower the fan to take another sip, holding your breath as you do so, counting the seconds until you can raise the barrier again and hide back inside your sandalwood fortress. The boar has finally drifted away, perhaps to find a sausage roll or another victim, leaving you standing in the shadow of a potted palm. The air is still stifling, the smell of tallow and sweat still heavy, but now a new sensation takes hold. It is boredom, but not the sleepy boredom of a Sunday afternoon. This is a frantic, itch-under-the-skin boredom. It is the feeling of a prisoner watching the same patch of sky for the 1000th day. You look around the room at the acceptable men, the bankers, the squires, the younger sons with good teeth and no chin, and you feel a sudden, reckless urge to destroy the machinery of your own sale. You catch the eye of the detrimental. He is standing near the door. He is everything you are not supposed to want. He has debts. He has a reputation. He has likely fought a duel, or at least caused one. He is not an investment. He is a sinkhole. But he is looking at you with an intensity that makes the boar look like a piece of furniture. You decide, in a moment of madness, fueled by arsenic fumes and tight lacing, to pull the trigger. You raise your fan. You do not flutter it. You do not rest it on your cheek. You hold it open, low against your chest. You look at him. Then, with a deliberate, agonizing slowness, you touch the tip of your index finger to the top of the fan's leaf. In the secret syntax, this is the atomic bomb. It does not mean, I like you. It does not mean, kiss me. It means, I wish to speak with you. To a modern ear, this sounds innocent. A conversation? What is the harm? But in the ballroom, an unsupervised conversation is a capital crime. You are allowed to speak to a man while dancing because the movement and the crowd provide a buffer. You are allowed to speak to him in the presence of your mother. But to speak to him alone? That is intimacy. And intimacy for an unmarried girl is synonymous with ruin. You have just invited him to help you commit social suicide. He nods, almost imperceptibly. He understands the code. He turns and slips out the side door, toward the conservatory. Now you must wait. You cannot follow immediately. That would be obvious. You have to count the seconds. You fan yourself casually, checking the room. Your mother is currently interrogating a viscountess. The dragon is distracted. You move. You do not run. Running is for servants. You glide. You drift toward the periphery, moving from pillar to pillar like a ghost. You slip through the heavy velvet curtains and out of the ballroom. The silence hits you first. The roar of the party is instantly muffled. The air in the corridor is cooler, damper. You are off the map. You are in the backstage of the house, the liminal space where the rules of the ballroom are suspended, but the penalties for getting caught are doubled. You walk toward the conservatory. The glass doors are ajar. You step inside. The atmosphere changes instantly. It is warm here, but it is a wet, earthy heat, smelling of peat moss, ferns, and damp terracotta. It is a jungle in a glass box. The moonlight filters through the condensation on the panes, casting long, twisted shadows. He is waiting for you by the orchids. He steps forward. He does not bow. He looks at you. You signaled, he says. His voice is low, stripped of the ballroom affectation. You feel a surge of adrenaline so sharp it makes your knees weak. You are alone with a man. There is no chaperone, no dragon, no fan between you. Technically, you are already compromised. The rules of compromise are brutal and binary. It does not matter what you do in the conservatory. You could be discussing the weather. You could be reciting scripture. It doesn't matter. If you are found alone with a man for more than 5 minutes, society assumes the worst. They assume that biology has taken over. They assume you have been touched, kissed, or worse. The imputation of sin is as damaging as the sin itself. If a servant walked in right now, a footman carrying a watering can, he would see you. He would tell the butler. The butler would tell your father. By morning, you would be unmarriageable. The bore would withdraw his offer. The banker would look away. You would be spoiled goods, indistinguishable in the market from a fallen woman. You are betting your entire life on the discretion of the plants. I needed air, you stammer. It is a lie. You needed danger. He steps closer. He reaches out and touches your hand, the one holding the fan. The contact is electric. It is a violation of every rule you have been taught. Skin on skin. No glove. You are playing a dangerous game, he whispers. You know this. You are trembling. You use the fan now, not as a signal, but as a physical barrier. You raise it to your chest, creating a wall between your bodice and his hand. Do not, you say, but you don't leave. This is the seduction of the ruin. It is the only moment in your life where you have agency. You chose to come here. You chose to signal. You are driving the carriage, even if you are driving it off a cliff. He talks to you. He doesn't talk about his aunt's gout. He talks about you. He asks what you think. He treats you, for a fleeting second, like a human being rather than an asset. It is intoxicating. It is more dangerous than the touching. If you fall in love with him, you are doomed. He cannot afford to marry you. If you run away with him, you will live in a garret in Calais, shunned by your family, selling your clothes to buy bread. You look at the fan in your hand. In the moonlight, the shepherds on the silk look mocking. They are frozen in a perpetual, safe courtship. You are standing in the mud. I must go, you say. The 5 minutes are up. The internal clock of the debutante is ticking. Every second longer increases the exponential probability of discovery. Stay, he says. He moves to block your path. This is the turn. The thrill curdles into fear. You realize that you are physically vulnerable. You are smaller than him. You are corseted to the point of immobility. You are alone in a glass room where sound does not travel well to the ballroom. If he decides to kiss you, you cannot stop him. And if he kisses you, you are his. You would have to marry him to save your honor, which is exactly what a fortune hunter wants. You realize the invitation to ruin was a trap you set for yourself. You snap the fan shut. Clack. The sound is loud in the quiet room. It echoes off the glass. Move, you say. You use the command voice, the grammar of cruelty you practiced on the boars. You channel the dragon. He hesitates. He sees the change in her eyes. The romantic haze has vanished, replaced by the cold, hard steel of survival instinct. He steps aside. You rush past him, your skirts sweeping the ferns. You do not look back. You hit the corridor and force yourself to slow down. You cannot re-enter the ballroom looking flushed and running. That is a confession. You stop outside the curtain. You lean against the wall. You open the fan. You fan yourself rapidly, cooling your face, slowing your heart. You check your hair in the reflection of a window. You compose the mask. You slip back into the light. The noise of the party washes over you. The smell of tallow and sweat is comforting now because it smells like safety. You find your spot near the pillar. Your mother is still talking to the Viscountess. She hasn't missed you. You have survived. You stole 5 minutes of life from the jaws of social death. But as you stand there, fanning yourself with a steady, hypnotic rhythm, you feel a deep, aching hollowness. You realize that the detrimental was right. You are playing a game. And the only prize for winning is that you get to stay in the cage for another day. You look at the fan, your accomplice, your key, your weapon, and you hate it. You hate it because it worked. It gave you the signal to ruin yourself, and then it gave you the shield to hide the fact that you almost wanted to. You snap it shut, hiding the shepherds, and turn your face back to the boar, who was approaching with a plate of macaroons, ready to purchase the rest of your life. You have returned from the precipice of ruin in the conservatory, your pulse slowly returning to its resting rate of quiet desperation. But there is no time to recover. The ballroom is a dynamic ecosystem, and nature abhors a vacuum. While you were gone, the balance of power shifted. You look toward the center of the room and see her. She is your rival. Perhaps she is the baronet's daughter with the slightly too low neckline, or the merchant's daughter with the slightly too large dowry. It doesn't matter who she is. It matters what she is doing. She is currently executing a flanking maneuver on the boar, the man you have mentally earmarked as your safety net. You realize that you are not just fighting the men for a proposal. You are fighting the other women for territory. This is the duel of painted sticks. To the untrained eye, the men standing around the punch bowl, it looks like a gathering of lovely young ladies fluttering their accessories. To you, it is a knife fight in a phone booth. The weapons are made of silk and ivory, but the intent is lethal. You are fighting for the limited resource of a solvent husband, and in this economy, scarcity breeds violence. You tighten your grip on your fan. You step forward. You are entering the fray. The first tactic of fan warfare is the eclipse. Your rival is talking to the boar. She is laughing at his jokes, a strategic error, as his jokes are not funny, but effective flattery. She is fanning herself rapidly, drawing his eye to the movement of her wrist and the flash of her jewelry. You need to break this connection. You glide up beside them. You do not speak. That would be an interruption. Instead, you position yourself slightly in front of her, just an inch or two into her personal space. You snap your fan open. Thwack. You hold it high, ostensibly to shield your eyes from the chandelier. But in reality, you have placed a wall of opaque silk directly between her face and his eyes. You have physically edited her out of the frame. The boar blinks. His view of the laughing girl is replaced by a painting of a shepherdess. He turns his head to find the source of the obstruction and sees you. You lower the fan slowly, reeling your eyes. You smile. "Oh, forgive me," you murmur. The glare is so intense. You have successfully stolen the spotlight. The rival is forced to step back or lean awkwardly around your fan to be seen. You have established dominance of the visual field. But she is a veteran too. She counters. She moves to your left side, your weak side. She leans in to whisper something to the boar, effectively turning her back on you. She is using the cold shoulder, a body-blocking technique. She is trying to create a private circle that excludes you. You cannot physically shove her. That would be brawling. But you can use the fan to invade the circle. You reach out with your closed fan and tap the boar on the arm lightly, playfully. "You must tell us the story of your hunt again, sir. you say. By using the plural us, you force the circle back open. You have weaponized his ego against her exclusion. He turns back to you, delighted to retell the story. Your rival's jaw tightens. You see her knuckles turn white on her own fan handle. Now comes the screening fire. You and the rival are standing side by side, listening to the bore. The air between you is toxic. You use your fan to mask your aggression. You open it and hold it to the side of your face, blocking the bore's view of your mouth. You lean slightly toward her. Your hem is muddy, dear. You whisper behind the silk. It is a lie. Her hem is pristine, but the seed of doubt is planted. She freezes. She looks down. In that moment of distraction, she loses the thread of the conversation. You seize the opening. You laugh at the bore's story. You engage. You have used the fan to deliver a psychological sniper shot while maintaining a smile for the target. Sometimes the combat becomes physical. The dance floor is crowded. You are moving through the crush. Your rival is passing you. It is accidental, of course, but as you turn, your closed fan swings out. It is a rigid bar of ivory. It connects with her elbow, the funny bone. Crack. It is not a hard blow, but it is precise. The nerve flares. She gasps. She drops her own fan. The disarmament. Her fan hits the floor. The ivory ribs clatter against the wood. The flow of the dance is disrupted. People look. A lady who drops her fan is clumsy. A lady who yelps in pain is undignified. She is humiliated. The bore looks at her with mild annoyance. She has caused a scene. "Oh, you poor thing," you say, your voice dripping with faux sympathy. You do not help her pick it up. That is a man's job. You simply stand there, fanning yourself elegantly, the victor standing over the fallen. You have proven that you have the superior equilibrium. But the most brutal tactic is the collective wall. This requires allies. You signal to two other girls' friends, or at least co-conspirators, who hate the rival more than they hate you. You form a semicircle. You all open your fans. You stand shoulder to shoulder, the edges of your fans overlapping like the shields of a Roman legion. You have created a physical barrier. The rival cannot get through. She cannot see the men. The men cannot see her. She is walled out of the market. You and your allies control the conversation, the space, and the attention. It is a blockade. You are starving her of social oxygen. She tries to peek over the rim. You raise your fans higher. You giggle together behind the silk. The exclusionary giggle returns, amplified by 3. To the rival, it sounds like judgment. She falters. She retreats to the refreshments, defeated by a fortification of lace. You lower the fans. You exchange a look with your allies. There is no warmth in it. You are united only by a common enemy. Tomorrow, you might do the same to them. The skirmish ends. You have held your ground. The bore is yours, for better or worse, but your arm aches. The repetitive motion of the eclipse and the tension of the grip have taken their toll. You feel a cramp in your wrist, the fencer's wrist of the debutante. You look at your fan. You notice a small chip in the paint on one of the outer sticks. It is a battle scar, likely sustained when you rapped the rival's knuckles. Accidentally, of course, near the punch bowl. It mars the perfection of the object. It bothers you. You realize that these women are not your enemies by choice. They are your enemies by design. The system is built on scarcity. There are not enough fortunes to go around. If she wins, you starve. If you win, she fades. You are rats in a silk-lined bucket, fighting over a crumb. You see the rival across the room. She has recovered her fan. She is fixing her hair. She looks at you. Her eyes are cold. She raises her fan and snaps it shut. Clack. It is a challenge. Round 2. You feel a wave of exhaustion. You don't want to fight. You want to sit down. You want to take off the corset and the mask. But you cannot. To stop fighting is to accept defeat, and defeat means the governess trade or the charity of a resentful brother. So you raise your fan. You tap it against your palm. You accept the challenge. You are a gladiator in a ball gown, and you will fight until the last candle burns out, using your painted stick to parry the blows of a world that wants to see you fail. The ballroom was a battlefield of movement, but the opera house is a battlefield of stasis. You have traded the physical exhaustion of the dance floor for the psychological torture of the display case. You are seated in a private box, upholstered in red velvet that smells faintly of dust and other people's perfume. To a casual observer, you look like a queen on a throne. To yourself, you feel more like a rare beetle pinned to a piece of cork, displayed under glass for the edification of amateur entomologists. The opera, likely something by Meyerbeer or Verdi, involving a lot of dying tuberculosis patients singing at the top of their lungs, is merely the background noise. The real performance is happening in the horseshoe of boxes that curves around the auditorium. The lights in the house are not fully dimmed. This is a deliberate architectural choice. The purpose of the opera is not to see the stage. It is to see who is sitting in the boxes opposite you. You are the entertainment. Across the cavernous void of the theater, you see the glint of glass. It is a man in the omnibus box, or perhaps the pit. He is holding a pair of opera glasses-heavy, brass-bound binoculars with powerful lenses. He is not looking at the soprano. He is looking at you. You can feel the magnification. It is a tactile sensation, a phantom touch on your neck, your shoulders, your décolletage. He is zooming in on your jewelry, checking if the diamonds are real paste. He is examining the quality of your silk. He is critiquing your posture. You cannot hide. You cannot leave. You are trapped in the box for the next 4 hours. This is where the fan becomes a tool of counter-surveillance. You raise it to your face. You do not fan yourself for heat. The box is drafty, but for coverage. You use the fan to break the line of sight. You hold it just below your eyes, creating a barrier that says, "I see you seeing me." It is a game of optical tag. If you hold the fan too high, you look coy, which encourages him. If you hold it too low, you feel exposed. You have to find the angle that deflects the gaze without acknowledging it. You are essentially playing peekaboo with a voyeur who has the legal standing of a lord. But the real enemy here is not the man with the binoculars. It is the boredom. Opera boredom is a specific crushing variety of ennui. It is heavy. It settles in your bones. You are corseted, so you cannot slouch. You are on display, so you cannot close your eyes. You must maintain an expression of rapt cultural appreciation for hours on end, even though you don't speak Italian and the plot makes no sense. Your face begins to ache. The muscles in your cheeks, tasked with holding a pleasant half-smile of intellectual curiosity, start to tremor. It is a smile paralysis. You feel like your face is made of plaster that is slowly hardening. You use the fan to massage the cramps. You raise the fan to your cheek, ostensibly to cool a flush. But in reality, you are using the ivory sticks to press against the knot of tension in your jaw. You hide a grimace behind the silk leaf. You stretch your mouth, yawning like a lioness, safe in the knowledge that for 2 seconds, the fan is your curtain. Then you lower it, and the plaster mask snaps back into place. Simper, nod, applaud. The box is also a social trap. It is a reception room with 3 walls. During the intermission, and even during the arias, men will visit. They crowd into the small space behind your chair. The air gets hot. You have to turn your head to speak to them over your shoulder. A motion that twists your neck and strains the corset stays against your ribs. You use the fan to manage the traffic. If a bore enters the box, perhaps the same one from the ball, relentless in his pursuit, you fan yourself toward the stage. You are signaling, "I am entranced by the music. Do not interrupt." It is a lie. You hate the music. But you hate his conversation more. If a detrimental enters, the dashing, poor officer, you lower the fan. You turn your chair slightly. You create an opening. You use the fan to point out something on the stage, leaning in so your shoulder brushes his sleeve. Is the tenor not magnificent? You whisper, knowing full well the tenor is sweating through his tunic and missed the high C. Historians still argue whether the horseshoe shape of 19th century theaters was designed primarily for acoustics, or specifically to maximize these sightlines of social surveillance. But as you sit there, feeling the crossfire of a dozen pairs of opera glasses, the answer feels obvious. The building is a panopticon. It is designed to ensure that everyone is watching everyone else, policing behavior through the threat of the collective gaze. You watch the claque in the audience below, the group of professional applauders hired by the theater to cheer on cue. You feel a kinship with them. You, too, are a paid performer, though your currency is a potential marriage settlement rather than a wage. You are clapping for a life you don't want, smiling at men you don't like, and pretending to enjoy a tragedy on stage while living a farce in the box. The physical strain of the fan is different here. It is not the frantic cardio of the ballroom. It is a slow, isometric workout. You hold the fan still for long periods, poised like a statue. Your arm goes numb. The blood drains from your fingers. But you cannot put it down. To put down the fan is to be unarmed. It is to leave your hands empty in your lap, which looks idle, and idleness is a sin. So you perform the opera flutter. It is a microscopic movement, just a twitch of the wrist, enough to keep the sequins on the fan catching the gaslight. Sparkle, sparkle. Look at me, but don't look too closely. The man with the binoculars is still watching. He hasn't looked at the stage in 20 minutes. You feel a sudden, violent urge to snap the fan shut and point it at him like a pistol. You want to mouth the words. I see you, you creep. But you don't. You are a lady. Instead, you engage the modesty screen. You open the fan fully and rest it on the velvet ledge of the box, creating a low wall. You sink slightly in your chair. You have reduced your target profile. You are hiding in the trench. The opera finally ends. The heavy velvet curtain falls. The gaslights flare up. The spell of the display case is broken, replaced by the chaos of the exit. You stand up. Your legs are stiff. Your corset has left deep red welts on your torso from the hours of sitting upright. Your face feels cracked. You close the fan. Clack, the sound is lost in the applause. You hand the fan to your mother or the chaperone, or you tuck it into your reticule. It has done its job. It has deflected the gaze, hidden the yawn, and maintained the market value of the merchandise. You walk out of the box into the corridor, moving toward the carriage. You feel the eyes of the men sliding off you as you leave the light. You are tired. You are so tired that the thought of sleep feels like a distant memory. But as you descend the grand staircase, you pull the fan out one last time, just in case. Because even on the stairs, even in the crush of the cloakroom, someone is always watching, and you must never, ever let them see your real face. You have mastered the semaphore of the ballroom and the stillness of the opera box, but now you must master the most difficult art of all, the close-up magic of the drawing room. Here, the gaslights are lower, the crowd is thinner, and the scrutiny is high definition. You are no longer a distant figure on a stage. You are sitting knee to knee with your audience. And in this intimacy, you realize that your primary job is not to be yourself, but to be a mirror that reflects a man's vanity back at him at twice the size. To do this, you must become a master forger of human emotion, and your printing press is the fan. You are exhausted. It is a bone-deep, marrow-sucking weariness that makes your limbs feel like lead pipes. You have been smiling for 6 hours. You have been corseted for 12. You have listened to the same 3 anecdotes about fox hunting and the corn laws until you want to scream. But you cannot scream. You cannot even frown. To look tired is to look faded, and a faded girl is a girl who is about to be shelved. So, you use the fan to manufacture the energy you do not have. A gentleman, let's call him the poet, though his rhymes barely scan, leans in to deliver a compliment. He tells you that your eyes are like stars. It is a line he read in a penny dreadful. It is cliched, boring, and lazily delivered. A modern woman would roll her eyes. You, however, must feign a sudden, overwhelming sense of fluster. You deploy the counterfeit surprise. You let the fan drop slightly, then snap it open with a jerky, involuntary spasm of the wrist. Thwack! You bring it up to cover your mouth, widening your eyes above the silk rim. You are simulating a gasp. You are pantomiming the physical shock of being admired. It is a lie, of course. You saw him coming a mile away. You knew exactly what he was going to say, but the fan allows you to sell the reaction. It hides the fact that your mouth didn't actually move into a smile. It hides the fact that your lips are pressed together in a line of grim endurance. Above the silk, your eyes look wide and attentive. Below the silk, your jaw is clenched tight enough to crack a walnut. The man sees the fan snap up. He interprets it as the flutter of a startled bird. He thinks he has stunned you with his eloquence. He swells with pride. You have successfully fed his ego without having to move a single facial muscle. Then comes the simulation of shyness. Shyness is a highly valued commodity in the marriage market. It suggests purity, tractability, and a lack of previous experience. A bold woman is terrifying. A shy woman is a blank slate waiting to be written on. But you are not shy. You are a veteran of 3 seasons. You have fended off gropers in the conservatory and negotiated the politics of the punch bowl. You are about as shy as a combat general. But the fan allows you to play the role. When the poet asks you a direct question, something intimate, like your favorite flower, you do not answer immediately. You look down at your lap. You slowly unfurl the fan. You hide the lower half of your face, tilting your head away, exposing the vulnerable line of your neck. This is the demure screen. By hiding your face, you force him to lean in. You create a vacuum of intimacy. You are signaling that his question has touched you so deeply that you cannot bear the light of day. In reality, you are hiding a yawn. You are taking a moment to remember if you are supposed to like roses, romantic, or violets, modest. You choose violets. You lower the fan just an inch, whisper the word, and then raise the shield again. He is enchanted. He thinks he is coaxing a frightened deer. He has no idea he is being managed by a predator in silk. The fan also helps you hide the cracks in the physical facade. You are wearing makeup, paint, even though it is technically forbidden for respectable women. It is a subtle application. A little rouge, beetle shells, or carmine on the cheeks, a dusting of pearl powder, bismuth oxychloride, to whiten the skin. Bismuth is a shiny white mineral that gives the skin a luminous, pearlescent glow. It is also heavy and tends to oxidize. If you sit too near a sulfurous coal fire, or if you sweat too much, the white powder turns a dark, muddy gray. You can literally rust in public. Furthermore, bismuth causes the skin to crack and peel over time, creating a landscape of tiny fissures that must be filled with more powder. You are essentially spackling your own face. As the night wears on and the heat rises, the enamel begins to slip. You feel a bead of sweat cutting a canyon through the pearl powder on your upper lip. You feel the rouge settling into the fine lines around your eyes. You are disintegrating. The fan is your Mogul restoration tent. You raise it to contemplate the ceiling. Behind the leaf, you quickly dab at the sweat with a hidden handkerchief. You use the edge of the fan to fan the makeup dry. You check your reflection in the polished mother-of-pearl handle, a tiny, distorted funhouse mirror that is your only source of truth. You are holding the illusion together with glue and good lighting. Historians still argue whether the men of the era were truly fooled by these performances or if it was a form of mutual delusion. Social contract, where he pretends to be witty and you pretend to be stunned. But as you sit there feigning delight at a story about a spaniel, the question feels moot. The performance is the reality. If you stop acting, the machinery stops working. You even use the fan to counterfeit intelligence. When the conversation turns to politics, a subject you are legally barred from participating in, you cannot offer an opinion. But you can offer active listening. You rest the closed fan against your chin. You tap it against your lips. 1, 2, 3. You narrow your eyes slightly. This is the pondering pose. It suggests that you are deeply considering the weight of the corn laws. It makes you look thoughtful, serious, perhaps a little bit deep. In reality, you are singing a nursery rhyme in your head to keep from falling asleep. You are wondering if there is any cold chicken left at the buffet. But to the man speaking, your rhythmic tapping looks like the metronome of a brilliant mind engaging with his ideas. He leaves the conversation thinking you are the most intelligent woman he has ever met, despite the fact that you didn't say a word. But the most exhausting performance is the counterfeit joy. You must look happy, not just content, but radiant. You must look like a girl who finds the suffocating heat, the bad breath, and the pinched toes to be the height of human existence. You use the fan to accentuate your laughter. When you laugh, you flutter the fan rapidly near your chest. It draws the eye to your bosom, a calculated risk, and creates a visual representation of mirth. But your eyes are dead. You can feel the disconnect. Your mouth is making a laughing shape. Your throat is making a laughing sound. But your mind is floating 3 feet above your head, watching a puppet jerk its strings. You realize, with a sudden, chilling clarity, that you have fan-signaled your way out of your own personality. You don't know what you actually feel anymore. If you were truly surprised, would you cover your mouth? If you were truly shy, would you hide your eyes? You have repeated the gestures so many times that the map has replaced the territory. You are a collection of ticks and signals, a semaphore tower made of flesh. The poet finishes his story. He waits for your reaction. You are so tired that for a second, you forget the line. You just stare at him. The silence stretches. The mask slips. He looks confused. Panic jolts you back. You snap the fan open. You raise it to your right cheek. You tilt your head. Charming, you whisper. Simply charming. He relaxes. The world is right again. You have successfully counterfeited the emotion. But as you lower the fan, you feel a phantom ache in your wrist, a repetitive strain injury of the soul. You wonder how many more times you can snap the silk before the spring breaks, or before you simply forget to open it and let the world see the blank, exhausted stare of the woman hiding behind the paint. The season is dying. You can feel it in the air, which has shifted from the crisp promise of April to the stale, humid exhaustion of late July. The London heat is rising, baking the horse manure in the streets into a fine, choking dust that coats the back of your throat. The grand houses in Mayfair are beginning to close their shutters. The right people are leaving for their country estates to shoot grouse and breed spaniels. And you are still here. You are standing in a ballroom that feels emptier, hotter, and more desperate than it did 3 months ago. You are holding your fan, and for the first time, you notice that it is dying too. You look closely at the object in your lap during a lull in the music. The damage is subtle, but to your hypervigilant eye, it is catastrophic. The silk leaf, once taut and glossy, is beginning to shatter. This is a specific term in the textile trade. To give the silk body and a pleasing rustle, the manufacturers weighted it with metallic saltstin or iron. It makes the fabric drape beautifully, but over time, the metal cuts the fibers from the inside out. The silk is literally stabbing itself to death. You see the tiny hairline fractures along the creases where you have folded and unfolded it 1,000 times. The edges are fraying, turning into a fuzzy, indistinct halo of loose threads. It looks like a pigeon that is molting in a very undignified manner. You try to smooth the fraying edge with your thumb, licking it slightly to glue the fibers back down. It doesn't work. The decay is structural. It is a physical manifestation of your own market value. Every time you snap the fan open now, you are risking a tear that will run the length of the leaf, ruining the scene of the shepherdess forever. You are holding a ticking time bomb of haberdashery. This fraying is the countdown clock. You are approaching the end of the season without a ring on your finger. In the brutal actuarial tables of the marriage market, this is the red zone. You are 18, perhaps 19. If you do not marry this season, you become a second-season girl. That is acceptable, though slightly discounted like day-old bread, still edible, but requiring a bit of toasting. But if you are pushing 20 and entering your third season, you are stale. You are the item at the back of the pantry that everyone assumes has gone off, even if the tin is sealed. You look around the room. The inventory of men has degraded as much as your fan. The dukes and the wealthy baronets have long since made their choices and retreated to the shires. Who is left? The dregs. You see the ineligibles, the younger sons with no prospects, the gamblers who are looking for a girl with enough dowry to cover their debts at White's, and the widowers who are looking for a nursemaid for their 6 children. The man approaching you now has a comb-over that is fighting a losing war against gravity, and a waistcoat that is fighting a losing war against his paunch. He is a last resort. You raise your fan to hide your grimace. You are careful now. You don't snap it. You open it gently, easing the stiff ribs apart, treating it like an invalid. You cannot afford to break it. You cannot ask your father for a new one. To ask for a new fan at the end of the season is to admit that the investment has failed. It is throwing good money after bad. He will look at you over his ledger and ask why the first fan didn't do the job. So you nurse the broken tool. You become an artisan of concealment. You hold the fan in a way that hides the frayed edge against your palm. You avoid the bright lights of the chandelier, sticking to the shadows where the imperfections of the silk and your own tired complexion are less visible. You realize that the secret language has changed. You are no longer signaling, I am available. You are signaling, I am still fresh. It is a lie. You are exhausted. You have danced until your feet bled. You have smiled until your face cracked. You have cinched your waist until your digestion is permanently ruined. And for what? To be standing here, in a thinning crowd, holding a piece of rotting silk, waiting for a man you would have looked at twice in April to ask you for a waltz in July. The fear of the shelf is a physical weight in your stomach. It is the fear of becoming a spinster. Historians still argue about the exact etymology and demographic reality of the spinster, whether it was truly a life of misery or a secret avenue to independence. But in the cultural imagination of the ballroom, it is a fate worse than death. It means becoming the aunt, the woman who lives in her brother's house, grateful for a seat at the table, sewing clothes for children who are not her own. It means invisibility. It means you failed the one exam you were bred to take. You watch the chaperones. Even they are tired. Your mother's vigilance has slackened into a grim resignation. She is no longer scanning the room for earls. She is scanning for solvent commoners. The bar has been lowered so far, it is practically a tripping hazard. He has a good house in Derbyshire, she whispers to you, pointing at a man who breathes through his mouth. He has no chin, Mama, you whisper back behind the fan. Chins are a luxury, she hisses. A jointure is a necessity. You look at the fan again. You see a small spot of discoloration near the handle. Is it tea? Is it punch? Or is it a drop of sweat that fell from your brow during the polka 3 weeks ago? It is a stain of effort. It marks the fan as used. You feel a sudden, terrifying kinship with the object. You are both used. You have been handled, inspected, opened, closed, and assessed by 100 men. You have been on display. The freshness is gone. The bloom is off the peach. You are no longer the mysterious new girl. You are a known quantity. Oh, that's the Smith girl, they say. Pretty eyes, but no conversation. And her father is difficult about the settlement. You are a novel that everyone has read the review of, so nobody bothers to buy the book. The music starts up a slow, melancholy waltz. The mouth breather approaches. He bows. He asks for the honor. You have a choice. You can use the cut. You can snap the fan shut and turn away. You can preserve your dignity. But if you do, you risk everything. The season is ending. The doors are closing. If you walk out of this room without a prospect, you go back to the country as a failure. You face the winter of the soul. You look at the fraying silk. You look at the fraying man. You decide that a patch job is better than the trash heap. You open the fan carefully, gently, and rest it on your right cheek. Yes, he beams. He takes your hand. His palm is damp. He leads you to the floor. You hold the fan in your left hand, pressing the tattered edge against your dress so no one can see the threads coming loose. You dance. You smile. You pretend that the silk is whole, that the season is young, and that you are not slowly disintegrating in the arms of a stranger as the last candle burns down to the wick. The moment arrives not with a fanfare of trumpets, but with a wet cough and the smell of stale sherry. You are sitting on a small, uncomfortable settee in a designated proposal alcove, a semi-private corner of the drawing room that everyone knows is the staging ground for the final negotiation. Beside you sits the man you have accepted as your fate. He is the mouth breather, the last resort, the owner of the house in Derbyshire, and the weak chin. He has spent the last 10 minutes talking about the drainage on his estate. He is now taking a breath, a loud, whistling intake of air, to pivot to the acquisition. You are holding your fan. It is closed. You are gripping it with both hands, twisting the ivory handle back and forth like a worry stone. You know what is coming. You have rehearsed this scene in your head 1,000 times, usually with a duke or a poet. The reality is far more administrative. My dear, he says, leaning in close enough that you can smell the pomade in his thinning hair. I have spoken with your father. We are in agreement on the essentials. He means the money. He means the dowry has cleared the bank. I should like to hope, he continues, wiping his upper lip, that you might look favorably upon the union of our houses. There it is. No, I love you. No, you are the light of my soul. Just a union of houses. It is a merger. You are the smaller company being absorbed by the conglomerate. You look down at the fan. This is the last time you will use it as a weapon of choice. For 3 seasons, this object has been your voice, your shield, and your sniper rifle. You have used it to cut, to flirt, to hide, and to kill. Now you have one final gesture to perform. You do not flutter it. You do not rest it on your cheek. Those are the gestures of the hunt, and the hunt is over. The prey has been caught. Or rather, the trap has snapped, and you are the one inside it. You look him in the eye. You affect a look of modest gratitude. And then, with a definitive, practiced motion, you snap the fan shut. Clack! It is the sound of a gavel hitting the bench. It is the sound of a lock tumbling into place. It is the sound of a ledger being closed. I am honored, sir. You say, your voice is steady. You are a professional to the end. He exhales a gust of relief and triumphant garlic. He takes your hand, the one holding the fan, and presses a damp, fleshy kiss to your knuckles. You feel the cold ivory of the fan pressing into your palm, sandwiched between your skin and his lips. The object that once kept men at bay is now physically trapped between you and your husband. The transaction is concluded. The speed with which your status changes is dizzying. In the eyes of the law, the moment you said yes, or rather, the moment the banns are read, you began the process of ceasing to exist. This is the doctrine of femme covert-covered woman. Upon marriage, your legal identity is subsumed into his. You can no longer own property. You can no longer sign a contract. You can no longer sue. You are, for all intents and purposes, a child in the eyes of the state, or perhaps a very expensive piece of furniture. You look at him. He is smiling at someone across the room. He looks taller, straighter. He has acquired an asset. He has secured an heir producer. He has won. Your father approaches. He has been watching from the doorway, nursing a brandy. He sees the closed fan. He sees the hand-holding. He walks over, a broad, genuine smile cracking his face for the first time in years. "Well done, my boy," he says, slapping the suitor on the back. "Well done." He does not congratulate you. Why would he? You didn't do anything. You were the thing being moved. You don't congratulate the sofa for being sold. You congratulate the salesman and the buyer. They shake hands over your head. You sit there, clutching your fan, feeling like a ghost at your own funeral. The news spreads through the room with the speed of a virus. "She's taken," the whispers go. "Settled. Done." The other women look at you. Their expressions are a complex cocktail of envy, pity, and relief. Envy, because you have escaped the shelf. Pity, because they see who you are marrying. Relief, because you are no longer competition. You have been removed from the board. You are one less shark in the tank. Your rival, the one you hit with the fan, the one you blocked with the eclipse, walks by. She catches your eye. She looks at your fiancé, then back at you. She gives a small, knowing nod. It is a salute from one soldier to another. You survived, the look says. The war is over for you. Rest in peace. You feel a strange, hollow lightness. The anxiety of the market is gone. You no longer have to worry about your market value. The price has been fixed. You no longer have to worry about your reputation. It is now his reputation. You can stop holding your breath. You can stop fanning. You look at the fan in your lap. It looks suddenly inert. 10 minutes ago, it was a live wire, buzzing with potential energy. Now, it is just a stick. You don't need to signal, "I am available." You don't need to signal, "Stay away." You are off limits to everyone but one man, and he doesn't need a signal because he owns the keys. The fan has become a relic. It is a tool of a trade you have retired from. "Shall we announce it?" your fiancé asks. He is eager to claim his prize. "As you wish," you say. The phrase is automatic. It is the motto of the femme covert. As you wish. Your will is now theoretical. He offers you his arm. You stand up. You tuck the fan into the crook of your arm, against your ribs. It feels hard and unyielding. You walk with him into the center of the room. The music stops. The announcement is made. There is polite applause. You smile the counterfeit joy one last time, but this time, you know you will have to wear this mask every day at breakfast for the next 40 years. You look at your hand on his sleeve. You are wearing white gloves. He is wearing white gloves. You are two pristine surfaces sliding against each other, hiding the sweat and the fear underneath. You realize that the fan was never really your friend. It was the instrument of your confinement. It taught you to be silent. It taught you to hide. It taught you that your power lay in what you didn't say. And now you have graduated to the ultimate silence of domesticity. As the toast is raised, you feel a final phantom twitch in your right wrist, the muscle memory of the cut, the urge to snap the fan shut and reject this reality. But the fan stays closed. The signal is dead. You drink the champagne, which tastes like vinegar and gold, and you accept the congratulations of a room full of people who are relieved they no longer have to bid on you. You are sold, delivered, and soon to be shelved, and the only sound left is the echo of that final clock rattling around in the empty room of your heart.